Welcome to the LawDepot Do-It-Yourself Legal Database for Public Libraries webinar. My name is Brad Gray, and I am an account representative with Recorded Books, and I serve the Upper Midwest public libraries, schools, and academic libraries, as well as Manitoba and Western Ontario. So it's a privilege to be with you today. For the next 30 minutes or so, I'm going to run through a short presentation to introduce you to the benefits and the features of LawDepot, as well as spend the majority of the time looking at the service and how wonderful it is for patrons to use on a regular basis for the wide variety of legal needs that they may have or that they're transacting, but they may not have the like a legal or notarized form to back things up if there seems to be an issue down the line. So that's what we're going to do today. And then I've got some follow-up things we'll talk about towards the end of the presentation. And again, you're in listen-only mode, and if you have any questions, please type them into the question section that was part of your dashboard. Or if you're just listening, you can send an email to me separately, and my contact information is on the screen you see in the bottom right corner. And you'll see that again later on as we finish up the webinar. I'm going to start off with a little bit of background and show why many people seek out legal service forms, and just most people in the United States and North America actually interact with legal type things when it comes to some everyday things that they need to do to protect themselves as an individual or as a family. So here's the first slide that I'm going to go over, and it just shows what a valuable service this is, just simply for the side of things for doing family wills or individual things, powers of attorneys and living will and so on. In the United States, it's really amazing that 60% of all Americans do not have a will, and that is a real serious matter when it comes to an end-of-life issue. There's a lot of things to go along when people are leading toward the end of their lives and the loved ones are faced with that grief and that crisis, let alone the follow-up things related to taxes and property and things that can get kind of messy if they don't have things well documented and their wishes laid out the way they would like to have them. And as you can see, it gets the percentages of people get even worse, if you will, as the individual is younger and they don't think about these things. They think they're going to live forever, or they just haven't gotten around to that. But it's really important for young adults that are venturing out on their own, or as families that are helping an individual that turns 18 to set their own life up and do some more adult things, and getting that set up for a living will or a regular will is really important. Secondly, the legal services are just plain expensive. My wife is an attorney, and she's an estate planning attorney, which deals with wills and probates and guardianships and all these different types of things. And it really amazes me the variety of charges that there are when it comes to legal services. Some things are charged a fee based on a package of things that they're doing, or it's a per-hour basis. And simply doing a simple will could range in a couple $100s to well over several $1,000s, depending on how complex it is and how many things are involved. And if you do like two spouses do it together, that can add up even more. And also, just more simply, more genuinely, most individuals don't have an attorney and don't have an idea, or they're afraid of where to go to find such a service. There are so many attorneys out there, and it's hard sometimes to figure out what they need to do. And in many cases, for uncontested transactions or agreements like selling a car or allowing your child to go on a band trip to Europe or something like that, you don't need some of the expensive services if you can find a real good, solid state or provincial specific form that will do that for you, and LawDepot offers that. And also, many small business owners don't have attorneys, or they have attorneys only when they get sued, or they have it when it deals with a contentious issue. But many of the general everyday transactions, the vast majority of things that small business owners conduct in your communities, they may have an attorney, but many don't. And this allows them one step towards having that peace of mind and that security of having a real legally binding document. And we'll go through some of those as well. So we'll work with both personal and some commercial transactions that are available in LawDepot. We work with LawDepot. LawDepot is a partner of ours. We're really pleased to have that relationship going. Their business has been around for quite a few years. They have over 12 years of experience. They have the top Better Business Bureau rating. They've drafted over 1 million contracts through this LawDepot service, and they've saved clients quite a bit of money. And quite a few papers have reviewed their services, and at the end of this presentation, I'll be sending you this PowerPoint that you have here. It'll be a PDF form, but you'll be able to see these reviews and look them up if you would like. Here are some basic benefits of the service. I've kind of distilled them down into what the benefits to the patron and to an individual using the service, and also a benefit to you being a leader within your library for the service. And then we'll talk about what actually is in LawDepot. First of all, LawDepot allows patrons to create legally binding documents. The patrons ask some simple questions in plain language, and it walks them right through all the different things they need to do to create that document. They don't have to fill out the complicated form. They just answer a few questions that they know the answers to, or they can easily find the answers to related to their wishes or desires for that particular form. LawDepot is available to everyone. I think that's an important thing for us at Recorded Books. When we partner with a service, we want to make sure that there isn't a section or segment of your patron group that you serve that is unable to use the service. If they're a library patron in good standing, they have access to LawDepot. Whether or not they have an email address, that seems to be a big issue with some databases, that you have to have an email address to use it. And you can use a big section of LawDepot without having an email address, or if you do something specific for your own individual documentation, then you would need one, and I'll come back to that on how a library can help an individual with the general email that the library provides, or to help them set up an email. It's a very easy thing to do. You can also print off the blank documents very easily for any patron to fill out on their own, and then seek out additional service needs if they're going to a legal aid center or they are going to their own attorney, that just kind of get a head start. So there's some real advantages for the patron. The service walks the patron through the entire process. There's different increasingly levels of detail of questions that are answered throughout the service, as you'll see, that really helps the peace of mind of the patron, not get overwhelmed by the whole thing or blizzard them with a whole bunch of details about what they're working on. It provides them a way to kind of step their way through the process and then take a little rest and seek out an answer based on whatever the detail is, whether they're just hovering over a question and answer, or they watch a short video on a section, or they go deeper to the point of even asking one of the LawDepot attorneys a specific question. And I'll show you that as well. They're easily customizable. They're very high quality. When you look at the form filled out after you've entered the question and you view the results, you'll be able to print that off and do whatever you need to do with it, or you can save it and output it like to Microsoft Word, for example, and then adjust the margins for any municipality requirements if you have to record a document so it fits within their stamp that they do with the county register and things like that. So there's ways to do that. I'll show you that as well. All the documents are monitored and updated on a regular basis. There's a monthly validation process that we use to make sure that each state, as it changes their laws, or every province that would changes, a particular way that something needs to be entered, or a detail of information is updated for that potential area that individual is filling that form out for. Everything is private and secure. All the data is stored. The original information, as well as any updates that you'd make to the form after the fact, are stored on the LawDepot database in the secure area specific to that particular patron's account. Also, you can output and save that to anything you would want, your computer or an external drive or that kind of thing. It's totally up to the patron, but it has that peace of mind there. And it also allows them to save time and money. The patron can access the documents anywhere they are. They could work on sometimes at their office. They could do it at home. They could do it at the library. It provides them all different ways that they're able to do what they need to do. Plus, they can do a lot of these things without incurring any legal fees or with an external lawyer, or they kind of get the head start to save some of that extra busy work time up at the front end of a relationship with an attorney. There's also a guarantee. We stand behind the program, and LawDepot offers a really nice basic gratuity to any patron using the service that finds an error. They are offered a nice reward, if you will, of $100 if they find like a typo or if there's something wrong, or if the patron knows about a particular change to a particular form or a law that is not represented within LawDepot, then LawDepot will send them a nice thank you for that, because they're standing behind their quality. Some of the features of LawDepot, the features are very extensive, and this just begins to outline them. But here they are. There are hundreds of legal forms accessible remotely at the person's home or business or wherever they can access the system, or they can do it at the library. That's one of a great feature, to have a public library bank of computers. It seems like it's taken up more and more of the energy within a library to have a wider range of public computers available to the patrons. And LawDepot is a great service that they allow, that you can allow the patrons to access, simply because there's nothing to download. It's all done online. You just save it, and then the individual would save it to their thumb drive or something, so it's nothing saved on the public computer at the library. All the forms are specific to each United States location, as well as every Canadian province. That's a very important thing to point out. So as you're filling out a form, if you happen to live in Alberta, you can do a form that's specific to that province, or if you live in West Virginia, you can do the same transaction, but you might be entering different information based on what those particular localities require. That's a really a neat feature. I really like that. And you have access to all the states and all the provinces. It's not just specific to you in where you live or where you enter it in. The best case would be if you live in one state, but you have a parent that lives in another, and you're helping that aging parent deal with a living will or selling a particular item. You can fill the forms out with them or for them within their state where they live, and then you can send those forms to them to have them notarized or transacted with whomever they're working with. It's a really great, helpful feature. It's really great for college students too, to have parents help their college their students when they're going to school in another state, if they're going to need to sell something, or they have an apartment they want to sublet it to somebody like that, to be able to deal with that and know what that specific state-by-state thing is really important. I've mentioned how the patrons are guided through the service. We call it the interview process. It's very similar to some tax preparation services and so on. And so we'll do that, and then all the stores documented. We'll come back to a lot of this when we actually look at the service. These features, as you get more and more interested into the program, where you need more help as it goes along, you get deeper and deeper as far as what is offered related to the reference library that's included, or find a lawyer services, or get your documents reviewed, and so on. And then from the library side, all the reporting and online support that you could possibly want is available is included in the subscription to the service. So I've talked enough about it. Let's take a look at it. I'm going to switch now over to the actual database, and we're going to, from this point on, we're going to spend basically the rest of the time in the service itself. So I'm going to exit out of the presentation and go into the LawDepot database. Okay, so we're in the LawDepot database now, but we're not logged in. It's very important to note that what I'm going to show you for the next few minutes is something that any patron can look at without creating an account. So what we're going to do first is look at what the service offers before I log in. So what we're going to do is I'm going to show you that the LawDepot has a wide variety of different areas within the law that you can create forms for, within the will and power of attorney area, leasing real estate, both personal and commercial, the sales and transactional kind of things that you will deal with when you're selling property or promising to sell something or whatever, as well as some business and human resources type issues that are really important, particularly with summer help and contract employees. It seems to be more prevalent in businesses these days. They're non-full-time equivalent positions, so they need to have special types of provisions or contracts, and there's some simple things they can do here to help them make sure that that small business owner can manage that. If they like run a lawn care business or something like that, that they hire in people here and there. There's some family-related things here to deal with, related from roommates, some uncontested divorce, and so on, as well as some consent forms for citizenship, as well as travel consent form. I'm going to show you a travel consent form that's really important, that some people don't think about when their child needs to go on a trip with one parent but not the other, or with a school group or something and they need to have permission to be able to do what they need to do. So we'll do that. So you can look at all the services related to on the top, and as they pull down the screen, you also can see that the most popular things used are summarized as well here. There's also an area on the screen that you can see it more on a visual basis. You can access the same things here, as well as towards the bottom, you can view all the documents. It's really important to note to patrons, they learn in different ways. If you use word processing software, some people use drop-down boxes, some use icons, and some people use by searching and finding things the way they want it. LawDepot was very intuitive to be able to address the variety of uses that a patron would need. If a patron doesn't know what they need, they just know they need some generally, they can go through a real simple question and answer process that they can go to a document finder area and they can click in a particular area. If they want a business, then they're asking some simple questions. You can see now how this question and answer process works, that you can just ask a different question as you're going along, and it'll ask you what you want, and if you're satisfied, then you can look to see what all the documents are that are listed that are available for them to find what the various things that they're wanting to do. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to log in, and I'm going to show you what it's like for a patron when they come in to log in. In order to do that, I'm just going to refresh my LawDepot screen here, because I have an account. I just want you to see what it looks like when you don't. So let's assume that you're at the Recorded Books Reps library and you're wanting to log into the service for the first time. The first thing the library patron is going to do is they're going to create an account. It's very simple. They do it just one time, and then they just continue to use that the whole life of their use with LawDepot. It's all run by their email address. If they're going to create an account, remember I said they can use a number of the services like I showed you without logging in, but you're able to create an account here as well. You can authenticate with your barcode or a number of different ways that you want to do that. But I also want to just point out here that every time a person logs in, they need to agree to the terms of agreement. And that is really important so the individual patron realizes that when they're working within LawDepot, they are transacting that form between them and LawDepot. And your library, your city, whatever, as well as Recorded Books, is not part of that. You're just providing a service to them, and it's up to that individual to do diligence to make sure that what they're doing is proper. And if there's questions, then they work directly with LawDepot about that. It's a very important thing that's done during each term of agreement. So let's take a look. We'll log in. I'm going to log in, and it's simply like I mentioned. Most people will sign up just using their email address. So we'll log in. And so I'm now logged in as myself. I'm using my own library, and now I'm going to show you. Now we're back to the main screen. Notice it's welcome me back, but it is exactly the same thing we looked at before we logged in. And it has a nice little icon right up front and center to show people what things we've done that I've worked on in the past. I'm just going to show you that real quickly, that it remembers where you were, and all the different forms that that individual person had been using show up real nicely to remind them what they've been working on, particularly helpful for like a local community person or a family member that's helping others put something together, because it saves your initial answers to be able to quickly adjust or adapt that particular form. Let's take a look at a form. I'm going to start with the living will, and we'll create a living will. And what we are able to do, and I'm going to show you something that I've already filled out. It remembers the information that I filled in before. Here's a little background on me, on my living will, and what it does is that it gives you a bunch of information that shows what you need to fill out. Rather than typing all this business in, it asks you what kind of things you want to do, and you just can click on what you want, or you're going to fill in the blank. If you're not sure what a particular item is, like living will, you can hover over the question mark and see how it fills in the question. Very easy in plain English terms, so most anybody will be able to understand what that is that they're working on. So they work through the various things. They make a selection that they want based on what they're doing. They can easily make adjustments and so on to their care and who they want it. They just more information that they add. You can add additional instructions so your wishes are heard of and so on. And so on. And then once you're done filling out a particular form, you can on every form your option, you to view the results before it's final, and now it fills in the information. Most of the other form services, legal form companies that offer services through libraries are PDF formatted forms, which means you're typing in these spots here where you find your name, and it's, they're inserted. It gets confusing. So like here, where my name is already filled in, that would be a blank, and I'd be typing that in. Whereas if I go down farther, it might be there again. Like right here, I would have to type it in again, and so it can get kind of cumbersome and confusing. And this is a real nice benefit that it fills all that stuff in for you and keeps it all organized and adjusted based on how long your name is and that kind of thing. So once you've filled and reviewed the document, you have a number of things you can do. You can ask, there are some questions. If you have questions about what it is, you can check them out. You can change your answers if there's answers you want to change. You can print out the document to take a look at it yourself, make notes on it or whatever. You can edit the results to make a final adjustment to what you're doing within the database. You can download your answers in a number of ways, either in a various format or the most popular way is to download it in Microsoft Word. And if we just click on the Microsoft Word option, it'll download it to Word. And now it is formatted in such a way that here's the document. See, there you go. There's your living will that you could take and get executed very easily with an attorney or a notary. Depending on what the thing is, it'll tell you what you need to do to get it executed properly. So I'm going to exit out of here and go back to where we were. And so where we were was that we were looking at the form itself. If we wanted to save that, we can save the answers right on the screen, right within the database, or you can save it out as a Word document as well. It doesn't matter. But you can save the answers that are different, and this will nicely illustrate, see how I've used this form before, and see how it has my initial answers from way back, but I've saved different versions of it. So if I save this again, just to be consistent, I'll say updated 5-5. Oh, I'll just put May 5, and I'll save it, and you'll see that it'll update. So it's updated properly, and it's going to update, and now here's an option. So I can go back to any of these prior versions if I want to and print them out and adjust them or use them the way they are. It's the way the same. That's the way it is for every document that you would work with within LawDepot. What I'm going to show you now is another type of form. It's just a different example of what you can do. You can do a bill of sale, and there's just the same. Notice here that it's the same kind of thing. Before, that prior form was mostly just those like buttons you punch, but here you have to enter in some information. And so if you're in the state of Wisconsin, this is the form that you would fill out. But I'm going to change the form just for fun. I'm going to change it to Colorado, and what it'll do is the screen will adjust, and it is going to change the document that you need for the state of Colorado. So you fill in the information that's related to Colorado. And we're ready to go. So I'll just fill in this, and here's the sale of this car that I wanted to sell to my friend who lives in Littleton. I have a really nice car that he wants to buy from me, and so here's the information I need to know specifically for the state of Colorado. See how it's very specific to that state that you're in. I live in Minnesota, so I wouldn't know what Colorado would need just by nature, so this kind of helps me guide myself through that whole process. What I'm going to show you now is that if you have some questions about a particular item, we'll go back to the bill of sale, just the question part, and notice that, remember, there are these questions that it answers the questions that you've got here. If you have a patron that needs more help, it's very common for them not to seek out the help, and they come to reference, and they call you or whatever. This is really a great level of helps the reference staff deflect some of those complicated answers potentially to go into the LawDepot service and actually get the answers there and help them guide them to where the answers are, because they learn more that way. It also just helps, keep things moving along with at the busy reference desk. So you can tell them that there's questions that could be answered here right on the form itself. In many cases, there is a short video that explains the thing. I don't know if you noticed that, but there was one in the will area that you could look at a will to look at a little video there, or you can seek out the law library. The law library is really great. You have a ton of things, I'm sure, in your library that has legal dictionaries and various things about a particular aspect of commercial law or transacting real estate, whatever. But this is a nice layman terms dictionary and frequently asked questions and helpful articles that help the individual find what they're looking for. So we'll look at a couple things here. So if they're looking for a particular glossary, if they, there are those question marks that kind of identified what a bill of sale is or what a will is, all of that is built into this glossary that's here. So anything that you're wanting to find the answer for, it provides the answer for whatever, in this case, what a grantor is, and then it gives you, and it also shows you what the definition is, and then shows you some examples of where those terms are used in what kind of forms that you're using. That's a really nice thing. So if you've heard a term, you don't quite know where it's used, or I never knew what a quick claim deed was until my wife, who's done 1,000 of them. It helps people with dealing with transactions quite quickly. Makes sense, doesn't it? So you can do it that way. That's within the glossary. There's a lot of different things to do there. I'm just going to go back to the law library thing. And there's also an area where there's frequently asked questions. This is really nice. That if you had a specific employment contract questions about Canada, you could stick on that. You can click on it, and it's going to give you specifically what the provincial things are related to that in Canada. Whereas if you're in the United States, that same, there might be some different information. This actually I clicked on the United Kingdom, but it's the same principle. There's also some helpful articles within the service itself that you can say, if you're not sure what to do, my daughter has a place. She goes to school at, Boston University, and she rents out a 2-bedroom apartment. She wants to sublet one of the rooms to help with the rent. What do I do? Well, here's the thing. They can say, how do I choose a roommate? They can, there's a helpful article about some things that you need to do about seeking out the best kind of roommate in that sale. And it also then shows you the necessary paperwork you need to do for yourself and for your daughter to be covered in that kind of situation. There's just a bunch of examples of how that is used in the helpful article section. Another major part of the service, in addition to the law library, if you're running into a question, is if you needed to get more information, you can do the help sections you'd expect to see. I won't spend a lot of time in there. They're really good. There's lots of different things related to what you need to do. But then also, most of the time, you're going to have people are going to ask. They need to ask a lawyer. They want to have the peace of mind that what they're transacting or what they're doing is actually proper. It's actually what they need to do, and what they've entered in is accurate. There's two things they can do with LawDepot. One, if they've created a document and they want to have the experts at LawDepot take a look at it, they can do a peace of mind review, and they can type in, they can send a note to them, and they'll look at the document, and LawDepot experts the legal experts will give any feedback if they've entered anything any wrong. They're not going to give advice about what they should do or shouldn't do. They're just going to give you they're just going to comment specifically on what that patron has done for them, and that is an optional service that a patron can choose to do. Then there's also the asking a general question of a lawyer. You can do that as well while calling the resource. Sending a note into the Legal Resource Network, you can do that as well. There's another optional service that a patron can use, and they get feedback, and based on the feedback, there may or may not be a charge involved in that service, but that charge would be totally optional, and it's between the patron and LawDepot. You're not involved in that at all, and it's the same with the peace of mind review. If they want to find, they want more legal counsel close to them, you're in Madison, Wisconsin, and you want to find out what you're doing, you want to just know somebody locally to take a look at what you're doing before you notarize or record the document, you can do that as well. You can either, do that on your own, or we have a nice service built in called Find a Lawyer, and based on what you're wanting to do, let's just say it's an employment question, you can go into the Find a Lawyer section, and we're partnered in with Legal Match service, where you type in where you are, and then you fill out a number of questions, and it's going to match you up with lawyers that have connected through LawDepot in that closed area, with that area that you can then contact. That's a confidential recommendation. There's no way the patron is going to be contacted by that attorney. The attorneys are not notified that their name has been looked at by that particular patient, so it's a very private, confidential way for that individual to have that peace of mind to find somebody locally. So there's another thing that we worked on there. What I'm going to do now, I'm going to take a minute and I'm going to go back to the main section here, and I'm going to take a quick look at some questions to see if there's been any questions that have come in. Just bear with me for a second, please. Okay, there has been a question about the live chat. The live chat are listed in the area within the help section. You can contact them. There's some chat opportunities. That there's chat opportunities within there, and there are basic business hours and so on that are available. So there would be some limitations, and it's hard to say where they are because it's based on where the person is. But that is an option you can probably count on. It be business service there. Let me check for another question. Thank you for that question. There's a question about all the things that are available based on where they happen to live. And as a follow-up, you're going to be sent a listing of all the documents that are included, and then I highly further recommend that you're going to be contacted very quickly by your local account manager to follow up on any questions, and also to set up a trial and so on, so you can actually do what I'm doing and actually go through the entire program yourself and do what you need to do. So that you're going to be able to have full access to this service as a follow-up to this presentation after you set up the trial. So thank you for that as well. Another question that has come in, I believe I started to answer it before, but it's worth mentioning again. It's for what users are available within LawDepot. And again, any patron that's in good standing, that's your library, that has access to your public computers or has a library card that is valid, they can create their own account and have full access to the full breadth of LawDepot. There's no limitations. There's no maximum usage. They have unlimited access to the program as long as you deem that particular person in good standing at the library. If they do not have an email address, they can still create and look at the documents. They aren't going to be able to do things specific to themselves, but they can look at any document that they want to and look at the questions that are there and print off the form that they might want. Here, let me sign out, and I'll show you how that would work. So let's take a look again. Remember at that bill of sale that I just created before? Note, I'm not logged in, but you can see all the different things that if I'm in Maine, what I need to provide if I'm in the state of Maine to sell a car. So in that case, you would do that. You could print this out, this page out that you see, by just hitting the print button on your screen on the thing, and you could print out the questions. So that individual, again, not logged in, doesn't have an email address, could get the information they need to deal with that transaction. You'd need to create an account and be logged in with an email address to fill it out and print out the finished document. And you can do that in two ways. One, you can do it by creating an email address for them that they would use potentially just at the library if they don't have an email address. Like my mother doesn't have a computer or her own email address, but she could create one very easily at the library and only use it there at the library if she wanted to. The other is if the library, some libraries offer general access email addresses for various things, and they could fill out the form. They wouldn't fill it out, but they could print out a finished form of what they would be able to, fill out the formatted thing and fill in the blanks, but they could take care of it that way as well. So that's a really good question. There's a question about accessibility that has come in, and that is where can I use the service and where can't I use the service? And the whole goal and the benefit of LawDepot is that you can use it inside the library or remotely anywhere you would like to, whether you're at work, at home, or on the road, or wherever you have access to a computer that has internet service. You can log into your LawDepot account wherever you happen to be and access the full suite of services that are in there. Another question that has come in, a lot of great questions today, and it's interesting how similar these questions come on a week-to-week basis, so they're really top of mind for libraries. So thank you for offering them. And here's one. What happens to a patron's record after a library has to end the service? So let's say there's for one reason or another, you're 5 years from now or whatever, you're not able to continue the LawDepot service for one reason or another. The documents are still stored at LawDepot for that individual patron, and that patron would have the option to contract directly with LawDepot to keep their subscription going on a consumer level, and they would be able to access that information and keep that going as well. So that's a good question. So yes, the documents are available to them on that secure database long after the service is long available to them, as long as they're contracted in with LawDepot, or that more likely also that the patron, as they go along, are going to save their documents to their computer or to an external drive for safekeeping in a safety deposit box or something like that as a backup to their signed originals. What I'm going to do is check one more time for any more questions. There's a question. The final question is: do patrons required to register at a library setting only? Yes, patrons are only. They log in through their access to the library. They're going to look at LawDepot here. I'm not logged in. Let me just refresh as if I'm coming in for the first time. And I'll show you how that works. The fact that they're going to point to, from your library's website, you're going to have an icon that specifically says, it's like this, LawDepot. And you click on that service, or if it would be through a marked record as hyperlink, and it's going to show up, and it's going to be your specific library's program for LawDepot. So it would have your logo right here where you see recorded books. You'd have your name of your library and so on. And so everything is done through your library. If an individual just typed in up here, www.lawdepot.com, totally separate from your library, outside of your library or anything like that, they're going to go to the consumer site, and then there's charges. And for an individual to be charged if they don't have access to, like a consumer that just works with LawDepot, which up to this point that's what LawDepot has been, is a consumer program, they'd have to pay a monthly rate or a transactional rate to use the service. And so we really, recommend that if they subscribe through your library, that you would want them to be coming in through that free service portal for the law. So thank you for that, though. I'm going to switch back over to the PowerPoint that we started working with and continue on. What comes along with the service packet once you subscribe to LawDepot is a number of things to help you get going. It includes marketing information to help promote the service to your library. It provides technical support tools for your IT people to help get them up and running. We provide information to help you with reporting, to do statistical reporting for circulation and so on like that. We also offer monthly training webinars. They'll probably kick in this summer. For a monthly staff training webinar to help with your reference staff, new employees, etc., as well as a way to support your programming for legal services, that you can promote how to use the service, and we would run that on your behalf, so it would be a nice tie-in to any other kind of legal aid or programming that you have within the library. Pricing and terms for your particular library or library system are based on an annual valuation of the service, and it is determined based on your category, or basically the size of your library based on annual circulation. That's what we do consistently with our other database services, and it's a per database price. But if you have multiple databases, like if you have our one-click audiobook service, there is some additional discounting for bundling and so on. And your account manager can follow up with you directly on that, or I certainly can help you as well if you want to follow up on that before you're contacted by your account manager. And we've already covered some of the questions. What happens next is you're going to be sent a thank you email from me. It's going to provide links to some more information online about the service. You're going to get a copy of this presentation that you can print off to attach to any notes you've taken or to kind of guide you through things as we go along, as well as a document list and testimonial sheet that we've got, as well as you'll be contacted by one of my colleagues within the next few days, and also to set up the trial. And just to affirm that question that was earlier about what's the full breadth, what's available within your particular location, the best way to look at that is looking at all the documents on the document list, as well as signing up for a trial and taking a look at it and actually doing a couple things for yourself, because it's not an abbreviated version of the site. It's the actual site that you have access to during the period of your trial. So it's really great to go from there. I want to thank everybody for participating today. I think we said we were going to cover this within a 45-minute period, and I think I'm 43 minutes in, so I'm always happy to be on time and be respectful of your participation. I really appreciate your partnership with Recorded Books and everything that you do related to your media collection development and how Recorded Books can interact with all the things you do related to our legal database, all of our other databases, and all of our physical and special products that we offer. So I appreciate your attention, and we look forward to serving you now and into the future. Thanks again. Have a great day.